Hey, welcome to Real Talk for Coaches, the podcast dedicated to helping coaching professionals thrive personally and professionally. Every week, we dive into the state of the coaching industry, explore professional development, or discuss how coaching can be integrated into various facets of life. I am your host, Dr. Dawn C. Davis Reid, certified professional coach, and joining me in this first time launch of our refreshed Real Talk is my fabulous co host, Coach Will. And today, Coach Will and I are going to talk about some of the Read Ready predictions on the top 4 coaching trends for 2025. We'll explore the future of DEI in coaching, AI driven solutions, hybrid based coaching models, and the rise of hyper specialized niches. But before we do this, I gotta bring in my ace boon coon, my best bud. And I'm gonna put this in as I introduce Coach Will. He graduated from my Read Ready Master Coach Training Program. And he is ready to take the ICF credentialing process, but I'm going to encourage him because he's like, nah, I'm good. But I'm going to be pushing him behind the scenes to go ahead and do it because Coach Will is an amazing coach. So what's going on, sir? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's another day in paradise.
I know.
Another day in
Another
paradise.
day. That's what I say.
Looking forward to this journey and we'll see what's going to happen here.
I love it, and thank you for joining me on this journey. And like I said, this is going to be fun, and I'm glad that you're here to experience this with me. And do know you are probably going to be in for shenanigans. Will and I just don't know how to act when we get together. So while we will try
Saw
to
her.
be, I beg to
It's
differ.
not me.
See, he's starting already. So we're going to have fun. We're going to give you great information. So I'm going to go ahead and get into the topic for us today. Some of the trends. Now, the first trend, and the reason why I'm bringing it first is because I know in the news we've seen a lot of information, for lack of a better word, around DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, belonging. And I'm going to throw justice on the back into that because a lot of people forget about belonging and justice. So there's a whole full terminology for it. And I think it's important that we do touch on it today, but we will be bringing you another segment in the future where Will and I are going to really deep dive. So make sure you guys tune in for that one. But as far as this part is concerned, there is a difference when you look at it through a coaching lens. And from my perspective, and please, Will, you jump in, you tell me what your thoughts are. When we talk about DEIBJ or DEI in coaching, it really is about how the coach holds space for the client.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, with this whole talk of rolling back DEI, DEIB, I it's a kind of like a blind um area for a lot
Yeah,
of people.
agreed.
Not knowing how they're going to handle it. I think people don't really realize what it all includes
Agreed.
and how it's going to affect coaching overall.
Agreed.
Um, yeah, what are your thoughts? So,
I agree with you 1,000%. And I think a lot of coaches are a little uncertain about what to do around this trend. So with the executive orders, I do think a lot of coaches are taking a step. They're taking a knee to try to figure out how are they going to talk about or address DEIB in coaching, especially when you're working with companies who are scaling back what their policies are on DEI or DEIB.
yeah,
And again, I'm not going to do a lot in this area because we're really going to dive deep. But tell me your thoughts about what you're about to say. I'm
I
sorry.
think it's going to be little finite things that are going to come. I know we're going to
Agreed.
take a deep dive into it. But one thing that was mentioned, I forget by the new guy who's in charge of, forget which department, but he said people are going to be judged by, not, it's going to be integrity based
Mm.
and color, but colorblind. We all know how that plays out, but I don't know how that's going
Yes,
to play out as far as in the
in the
coaching
coaching
world.
world.
You know.
So this is what I'm seeing, and this is my prediction. I think coaches are going to reframe how they talk about DEIB.
Hmm.
From a service perspective, it's more about how we're holding space for the clients. So I believe that when we're in coaching sessions, we're probably going to look at it from the lens of, am I being inclusive enough and culturally responsive to the person that's in front of me? So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. And I think this will drive home the meaning. Um a couple of years ago, and I was going through my PhD and all that good stuff, I worked with a black coach, black female coach.
Hmm.
And in that situation, and I was telling her how I was feeling imposter syndrome, and there were some microaggressions I felt like I was experiencing with my committee, my PhD committee at that time. And her approach to it was, well, how can you see it differently? What makes you think it was microaggression? What makes you think you have imposter syndrome? And for me, I felt like, okay, first, as a person of color and a woman, you should understand what that feels like and looks like, right? And so, in that particular situation, as my coach, I didn't feel like she held space or empathy for me. Of course, I dropped her. I was like, "Okay, we're not a good match." And it was interesting, I ended up hiring a white female coach and told her the same exact agenda and the same exact feelings. And her approach, which is what I'm driving at, is she held space for me and said, I don't know what it means to be a black woman in that space. However, I can imagine as a woman that must be discouraging to feel that way. How
Right.
can we use your situation to help empower you to move forward and address your concerns with your committee? Totally different space. So when we talk about DEI in coaching, it's really about how the coach asks questions, how
Hmm.
they hold space for empathy, and how they make you feel included in the conversation or the partnership, how you belong in that conversation, and making sure that they are tapping into your diverse experience as a coachee. So that's what I see as a trend.
I think it again it draws a fine line
Agreed.
in between of actually being a actual good coach,
Mm.
because a good coach would naturally include those things in their coaching perspective. I don't think it would have to necessarily be a thing of, oh, I have to set this aside for diversity, equity, and
Right.
inclusion. Like I have to, oh, I need to set this set of guidelines for diversity, equity, inclusion. A good coach would be like, oh, okay, let me it should be something that's already embedded in their
The practice, the coaching practice. Yeah.
practice.
Yep.
And not look again, we're going to take a deep dive
Yeah,
into this
sure.
later, but like
Sure.
to give an example, just really quick. Um um I know my daughter, she had some uh issues in school. So when she
Right.
started in school, one of the things that they said, she had special teacher in her class that was really just for her.
Okay.
But the way they explained it is the teacher, I forgot what they call it, inclusion teacher.
Okay.
So the teacher was there to help her. But the way they explained it is the teacher would also help other students,
Right.
but focus on her.
To make sure she's included. Right.
So she would not feel alienated.
Yep.
So she, to me, it was a good because she included everyone, but she knew she had to pay special attention to my daughter. So when if you're, I feel like it should be something that's built in. It shouldn't have to
Agreed.
be, oh, I have this particular, so I have to set aside this certain thing. That's just the way I feel.
Agreed. No, agreed. And I do think that's where the trend will head. But to your point, it should be organic because that's
Hmm.
what I'm hearing, right? It should be
Right.
organic. And as far as the trend, coaches are going to have to really continue to be culturally aware, culturally responsive to their client. And so you will have clients that don't look like you. And sometimes you're going to have clients that looks like you. Like in my case with having a black coach, and they still may not be on the same page. They still may not understand, to your point, a good coach. Um, how do I hold space for my client to make sure they feel like they're in partnership with me in this coaching process? So
Right.
you're right. And so I do think the trend is going to be almost doubling down and making sure this is a natural part of your coaching process. And I think the trend will also include just continuing to develop so that you continue to be culturally responsive.
Okay.
Right.
Yep. Sounds
Awesome.
good.
I love it. I love it. All right. So AI. First of all, I'm an AI geek. Like I love
Yeah.
anything AI.
Hmm.
What are your thoughts as far as some of the trends in AI for coaching?
Um. Well, I think I haven't. I'll be honest. Full disclosure. I haven't really looked at a lot of the AI coaching things, but
Mm,
I've looked at AI in general, and I know there is a fear of AI,
yeah.
a fear of it taking people's jobs, a fear
Mhm.
of it, you know, automating everything. I mean, you go to Chat GPT and things of that nature, and you type something in, and I'm looking at it like, wow, this is incredible.
Mhm.
So it's like I know there's a fear of AI in natural in the tech industry and everything. And I believe the same kind of fear could be in the coaching world because it's like, okay, what do I need a coach for when I could just go to whatever and just say, you know what, I'm feeling this about whatever, and see what it puts out. Um, because people are getting, especially with the pandemic that just passed, human interaction is not as, I mean, it's building back up now, but human interaction is really took a dive.
Yeah. Agreed.
And AI. So what are your thoughts?
My I'm glad you mentioned the fears before I get into some of the really good stuff of
Hmm.
the AI. I can tell you right now, just with I leverage it in my coach training program to say if you need to practice coaching, use Copilot, the voice mechanism, because
Right.
it talks back to you. And I think ChatGPT can do the same thing, and there's other AI programs that will do it as well. And you can ask ChatGPT or Copilot, Gemini, whichever is your pleasure, to be the coachee and you can practice with it. So, to your fear, as a coach, if I put on my I'm the coach hat, I would absolutely be afraid of it because, yeah, why do I need Coach Dawn or Coach Will if I could just ask Copilot to help me coach through this? The benefit right now of it is that it hasn't learned to be as empathetic or to pivot because AI can't really see the nonverbal cues. It
Hmm.
really can't
Hmm.
pick up on how you're really feeling or what all of my clients and all of my coaching residents in my training program know is the thing behind the thing. So anybody who's
Right.
followed me long enough know what I mean by the thing behind the thing.
Right.
AI can't do that yet. Now in 5 years it might be able to. Don't get me
Hmm.
wrong. So the fear is legitimate. Right now, I don't think it's a concern. I think in 5 years, AI will probably give us a run for our money.
So what about the ethical part of it?
Oh,
Like,
yeah,
what
yeah.
about that part? I mean, because we as, humans, human beings, so to speak, we're not an inanimate object.
Nope.
So we may be able to hold space for certain things that the AI machine would just look at things literally
As
as
is.
as
Yep.
is and say bam 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 bam. Whereas we can say, okay, what about this and what about that? We have more of reason, and a lot of times as an actual person, we may have more compassion
Yes.
for a certain situation. So
Agreed. Now you mentioned ethics, but then you're also mentioning,
mm,
like, the empathy part of it.
right.
So which one you wanna tackle?
Tackle the ethical part.
the ethical part is this. This is nothing is a foolproof. Then that's the first thing I always tell anybody looking to use AI, because you have programmers behind the AI models. And so when you look at trends and how coaches can use AI in their practice, the first thing they have to understand, and the one thing that I do is I make sure that there are security and encryption features of that program. Like, for instance, I use Read AI to help me with coaching notes. No one can access that except for if I give you access, right? And you need an NDA, you need a lot of paperwork from me before I even hand over anything to you. So that's something that coaches can think about, is how is AI used and what kind of access can the AI manufacturer or the source manufacturer, how much access do they really have? And from my research, what I've seen as far as the ethics and privacy is that it's usually just programmers who need to really update the models and all that good stuff. They're
Hmm.
supposed to have NDAs and different privacy and confidentiality features as well. So I would say, as part of this trend in usage, what coaches really should be doing is making sure that whatever application they use, it has some type of encryption, privacy, and confidentiality feature. Again,
Yeah.
nothing is foolproof, and we can't do anything about unscrupulous people. But as long as we put in enough safety features and in our agreements, which is a trend, we're gonna have to put in our agreements, we use AI, this is how we use it. We can't guarantee, but we'll ensure your privacy and confidentiality as much as possible. So that's a trend.
I think one of the things other people need to do when they start using these different AI programs
Mhm.
is read the fine print. There's a
Key,
huge
key.
thing going on right now about DeepSeek, which is that new
Um,
AI thing that is causing havoc, causing the stock market to crash because people are saying it came from China and it's so much cheaper. And so now they're trying to make, I'm not trying not to get too political, but they're trying to make all types of
right.
laws against it now, but it's a China based thing. And so, a lot of times when people get involved in things,
Mhm.
they don't read the fine print. They just, oh, it's a new tool. Oh, it gives me what I want. Oh, okay.
I'm
I'm going to go
signing
ahead
up.
and use
Yep,
it.
yep, yep.
So, you go into it and you start using things, not realizing, like you say, you may be exposing, it may not be as secure as you think. It may
Right.
be, exposing certain things. So, one of the things, I think is read the fine print before you get involved in
Agreed.
anything.
Agreed. But this, and I'm glad you mentioned that, because that is very important for coaches to take into account in their practice. If you're going to use AI, you have to make sure you let your clients know in your agreement. Your clients need to know that you are incorporating AI into your agreement. Like, I have it in my agreement that I will be using AI. This is how I'm using it. Now, and if you don't want to use it, you have to let me know in writing, that type of thing.
Right.
But as far as things to look for, definitely with coaching notes. Like, it used to take me like almost 2 weeks. That was one of my client feedbacks. I'm gonna be fully transparent. One of my clients a couple of years ago, he was like, "Look, I want my notes like the next day." And I'm like, "Dude, I have like 30 clients. I can't be getting you stuff in like 24 hours." And I do have in my agreement, like, it could take me 7 days before I get your coaching notes. But that was one of the feedbacks that I received, that I said, "Oh, how do I fix this?" Because I think it is important that you get feedback early. And so with AI for coaching notes, oh my goodness, I love it, because I can literally get you your notes within like an hour of your coaching session.
Nice.
Another thing I think is really a good trend with coaching is, like I said, it'll help you with practicing. So if you want to practice a new coaching model, you can use AI to help you practice. You can use
Mhm.
AI to help you with oh my gosh, just creating new coaching models, and we're gonna talk about that too.
Yeah.
So, I know we spent a lot of time on this, and we can always do another segment, in the future, to really talk about AI. And, shameless plug, I do have a training course on using AI for coaches, and I do cover it, so, you can always get that training. Shameless plug. Alright.
Yeah.
Any thoughts before we go to the next trend?
No, I was thinking that this would be a perfect way to roll into the next segment. Doing like different hybrid types of coaching, which is, one of them being AI. And maybe you could get into what are the different, hybrid models of coaching.
Now, this is going to be a big trend because a lot of companies are calling all of their employees back to work. And a lot of coaches are being asked, and I am one of those people where I've been getting a lot of organizational clients asking, "Hey, can you do this on site?" And I'm like, "Sure,
Mhm.
but it's going to cost more if I have to come in because that's travel. I'm gonna need a setup. I'm gonna need an office. There's a whole bunch that goes with this." But the trend in coaching is definitely having that virtual plus in-person effect or part of your offering. And so a lot of coaches are going to start to move out of that 100% virtual because a lot of clients want you to be in person. And I will say like I feel like it's effective virtually because you can see people, but there is something about the energy of coaching someone like face to face
Right.
live, right? I don't think you get less service. I just think it's a different energy, a different feel. So one of the trends I absolutely see is coaches are going to have to adjust going from 100% remote to more of a hybrid specialty. What are your thoughts?
Well, I think what's happening with a lot of the things is you can't ask. I mean, you can.
You
You can do
can.
anything you want, but it's hard to ask somebody to say, "Hey, can you coach us virtually?" But you just ask all your employees to come back into the office 5 days a week,
I agree.
and so you're saying, "Oh, you want us to come back into the office 5 days a week, but we're taking this virtual class from this
Yep,
person. Why can't we work virtually?" So I think that plays into the fact that they're asking a lot of people to come in, and I think people should be expecting that.
true.
Unfortunately, if the pandemic taught us anything, is the world could be more hybrid. The world could be more remote than it was ever before.
Agreed.
But with the turn of um, for lack of a better way, of employers fighting back and bringing people back into office. Maybe I shouldn't say fighting back, but
No, fighting back is
yeah.
the right word.
And bringing more people in the office, it's going to be a type of thing where it's like, yeah, you're going to see more and more of that. If you want
True.
this, hey, come in here. We'll set it up for you, and you know, do whatever it is, and
Yeah.
yeah, you'll take care of it.
So we are in agreement that coaches are going to have to be more flexible. You're going to
Yes,
have an in-person offering because a lot of employers are going to be seeking that type of service from you.
yes,
Agree?
yes.
Agree. And so the final one, and this is my favorite as we start to wrap up with this, the final one is hyper specialized niches. I've been teaching this, and you know it because you took my class. I've been teaching this forever. And I'm not going to say I'm the best at this, but I know how to
You gotta
teach
blow
it.
your horn. What do you mean?
Toot toot. So
Okay.
you're right. I'm amazing. So no, I do believe that coaches are going to have to be finite in their niche offering in their niche target audience. What I'm seeing, and like as you know, I'm looking to go abroad, right?
Right.
And to see where we can really do coaching in different emerging markets. What that means also is that people are going to have to, or coaches in particular, are going to have to be really specialized. So what do I mean by that? Career coaching, leadership coaching, executive coaching, they are all saturated. Like everybody called themselves a business coach, a career coach, a leadership coach, executive coach. But what makes you special from
Yeah.
any other one?
I was just getting ready to ask you. So, how do you find your niche? Because you can say, okay, hey, you get into the coaching thing, and then you say, which lane do I want to go down? You could be a jack of all trades, and they say jack of all trades, master of none. Or
There's more to that saying though, but go ahead.
like, how do you specify your niche?
You take Reid Ready's building your niche training program. That's what
Very good,
you
very good. I see what you
do.
did
You
there.
like what I did right
I
there? Okay,
see what
okay.
you did there.
For a quick answer, That it really depends on how much you know about where you want to go with your coaching.
Hmm.
That's the key, right? The less you know, and again, transparency. I started out when I first started my practice, I started out with working with women, right? And
Right.
now I'm working with coaches in particular, and they can be part of the BIPOC community. So it changes and it can evolve over time depending on the needs that you see in the industry, right? But
Right.
the whole thing about the niche is, what are you specializing in? So, for example, I specialize in imposter syndrome
Hmm.
and I specialize in new leaders. And if I keep making it granular, it would be new women and or BIPOC leaders who are suffering from imposter syndrome and going from buddy to boss. So that's very specific. That's very specialized. And I think that's going to be a hot trend.
So let me ask you, how much does personality play into the niche that you pick? Meaning, you say imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
and you say, okay, I want to specialize in this, and then you get down that road, and you're becoming it, but your personality may lead you. Your actual personality self may say, you may be better in another area
Mhm.
of coaching,
Mhm.
but you don't recognize that
Until
because
you're
you're
in
so
it.
focused
Mhm.
on
Mhm.
being a success in imposter syndrome or whatever. So how much does personality play a role in that?
This is why early on in the training program, I talk with people about their personality, their passion, their interest, their purpose, their calling, and we go through a whole exercise really to tease that out, right? Because that can happen, and again, transparency, that absolutely
Hmm.
happened to me. I got into certain things and went, ew, I don't think this is for me, this particular area. So it really is a lesson learned. And what I will say is, part of the trend as a coach is you have to be willing to experience and experiment.
Hmm.
And you might think a specific niche works or specialization works until you get in it and it feels different. It doesn't quite align with you. That's okay. I don't want people to walk away saying, "Oh my gosh, that's a bad thing."
Right.
It just means spend a lot of time in the beginning understanding that piece, and you're least likely to make that pivot later, right?
Hmm.
However, if it does happen, that's where you get a coach, that's where you get training to help fine tune that piece, right?
Right.
And so I say, yeah, there are certain things that won't be your personality, and you may not know until you get in it. Well, pivot, and you hire Dr. Reid to help you figure out that pivot.
Yes, that would be the best choice right there.
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. I know that we said a lot for this one. And so we are going to wrap this puppy up. And please, please, I hope that this information was helpful to those who are listening. Definitely tune in for the next episode. We have much, much more to share. I'm so excited about Real Talk. And thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you, guys.